Alright, today's video we're going to keep the ball rolling on the hottest topic in the world of nerd culture, and that's Avengers Endgame, right? That's right. Everyone's going crazy about the movie, everyone has a lot to say about it, and a lot of people I think enjoy talking about it because look, to me it was a great movie. I went into a shop the other day and they were like, yeah, it was alright, and I was like, what? So today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm going to have a guest on. She's my first guest who is also an aspiring YouTuber who has her own channel. And she's very clued up in the world of nerd culture, pop culture. She works at a pop culture shop. She's very into anime. She knows a lot about comic books, even though she pretty much doesn't read them. She's very clued on with this stuff. She explained a lot of stuff to me before Endgame, and I was like, oh wow, you know a lot about this. We should do a video together. So I thought I'd call this video series Simple Simon Learns, and obviously today we're going to learn about Avengers Endgame with the beautiful Siren Divine. Moving forward, I might make more videos with her because she knows a lot about pop culture and she can teach me a lot. I've fallen in love with all this nerd culture sort of stuff because I guess I'm getting old. Anything that makes me feel young makes me happy. So, you know, all these toys, all this sort of shit, I love it. But, you know, I am very much a noob to this world, and she can teach me a lot of stuff. So without further ado, I present to you Simple Simon Learns Avengers Endgame. Get ready for more two-tone hairstyles than your screen can handle. Let's do this.
Hello my divine people, and welcome back to not my YouTube channel. I'm actually here invited by the lovely Simple Simon because as a massive noob he needed me to sum up a couple of things that he had to ask me regarding the end of Phase 3 and the Endgame movie. Let's do this!
So,
yes.
Remember we were talking about that scene in Infinity Wars about when Doctor Strange hands over the stone. Which stone?
Time stone.
The time stone, the green one. And
the shiny green one, yes.
The shiny green one. And you said to me, do you know why that is significant and important? And I was like, no.
That's true, you didn't know.
She said to me, well, earlier in the movie, he said, I would happily watch you two die to protect the stones.
He did.
And then all of a sudden, Thanos is like, give me it. And he's like, okay. So
I don't think it quite went like that.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he had his moment where he sat there and he managed to work out all the individual outcomes and only one of them that were going to win. And that one required Tony Stark, as in Iron Man, to physically be alive in order to get to that ending, that end game. Huh.
So in simpleton terms, she said to me, well, he's seen every single outcome, so he knows that they need Iron Man to survive to win this, right?
Correct.
That's right.
Pretty much the point in it that you need to take out before you even saw Endgame was that Tony Stark had to be alive in order for Endgame to even be a fathomable idea.
That's right.
And that was the only possible outcome where Thanos could be defeated. So he had to counteract his original statement.
And when she told me that, I was like, oh my god, my mind is blown!
As with most things that I tell him.
Alright, so, first question.
Uh-huh. Wait, you're asking me questions.
Oh, apparently.
Damn.
What is the significance of Captain America catching the hammer? Why were people so excited, including yourself, to be like, oh my god, remember when he brought the hammer?
I mean, who wouldn't want to hold the hammer?
I want to hold that hammer.
I want to hold that hammer.
Alright, so tell me, why were people so excited to see Captain America catch the hammer?
Because even though both in the multiple comic book series, you see so many people, at least 11 I can think off the top of my head, that had the ability to wield Thor's hammer.
Vision.
You are correct. I mean, obviously we do see that in like that really funny scene in Infinity Wars. Was it Infinity? No, it wasn't. It was
Age of Ultron. Yeah, he's a noob now. He's a noob now. Guess who hasn't seen Captain America? Oh, what? You haven't seen it?
No, I thought it was shit.
You haven't seen Captain America?
No, I refuse to.
And you haven't seen the second one? Winter Soldier?
I have seen that one. I haven't seen the first one though.
Who fucking watched
because
the second
Bucky,
one?
man.
I suppose I've only watched the third one.
Have you watched all of the Thor movies? No. Have you watched all of the...
I've watched all the Thor movies.
Have you?
He's my favourite. That's the only one that I've watched.
Is he your favourite?
They're the only ones that I've watched is Thor.
So what, you've seen Thor, you've seen Dark World, and you've seen
I watched
Ragnarok?
Thor 1 and 2 before I even got into this nerd shit.
Did you see Ragnarok?
Yeah, I watched Ragnarok after I got into nerd shit. And I was excited because I was like, this looks 80s, man.
80s?
Yeah, it looks 80s. Like the whole trailer and the whole way Ragnarok is 80s. 80s.
That very moment in Endgame, when you see that hammer go into the hand of Captain America, the reason that it was so monumental is because he is seen as this very standard, normal human guy who obviously gained this superpowered strength in his own right. But to become worthy of Thor's hammer in the comic books, even in the movies, you see that even though there have been at least 11 other people that have been able to wield the hammer, it's put down to Odin saying that you have to have the worthiness, which normally comes with self-sacrifice, and also be, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost, you look at it as him taking that hammer is that monumental piece that explains you're supposed to be Captain America in that moment. You're supposed to see it as this guy is the original Avenger. He's that first person that you have grips with, and you want to come out of it at the end feeling like you've grown with him. He's grown from this person who could have picked up the hammer, but a lot of people speculate that in Age of Ultron he didn't deliberately pick it up. But well, the theory is that he was worthy a lot earlier in the MCU than what he was led on to be. But because obviously Thor had very egotistical characteristic back then, he's obviously grown and matured. It was more, he was like, oh, I can feel it's actually giving me this ability to lift this hammer, but I'm not gonna do that because Thor's really gonna crack the shits at me. But then when he obviously gets that was in a dire moment. It was in a key part where, you know, the world was at its end, so they needed to defeat Thanos. So to be able to pick up that hammer and really use it, at that point Thor had basically lost all self-confidence. He was fat, for God's sake. Fat
Thor!
You love Fat Thor.
I love Fat Thor.
You really love Fat Thor.
Because I'm a fat, simple Simon.
First and foremost, the main thing about becoming worthy, mainly as it's a contingency between the comic book and the MCU itself, is to be considered worthy. A lot of that comes with self-sacrifice and caring for those around you and not yourself. It basically shows that to pick that hammer up, to wield it, and have that undying need to just want to protect those around you and have no self-care about what happens to yourself, that's why it's significant, that's why it's important. He's the original Avenger, he's the one that starts the whole thing, aside from Tony Stark from the actual cinematic point of view. But in the comic books, without him, you wouldn't have the Avengers. So just to see him be on a level of like the almighty god Thor of Thunder, like he's not only able to hold this hammer in his hands, he's also able to just be like, around people's faces and swing it around. He can also pass it back to Thor when he needs it as well, because he can feel the energy through the hammer when Thor is around. Did you know that?
Next question. So, explain the ending with Captain America, how he became old, passed the shield on to Falcon, which nobody cares about. But
yeah, so I'm really glad that Bucky wasn't the one that ended up being handed down the shield from Captain America and that it was Falcon. Purely because there are a couple of different ways where the shield gets passed down in the comic books. Now, when Bucky gets the chance to become Captain America, it's because Steve Rogers is presumed dead. Like, dead. Yeah, don't know where he is, he's just disappeared. But the shield still remains, so Bucky's like, yeah, I'm his best friend, I guess I'll become Captain America, and it's boss ass bitch, and it's great. But when Falcon does it, it's different. Like, he's found this bond through Captain America that you see as the MCU progresses, but you feel it more because it's kind of like, you know, like when you're a kid and you get given hand-me-downs, and someone's like, here, I used to love this thing and now I'm giving it to you. Like, you felt good because you were like, wow, this person's trusting me with this like significant piece of their childhood, and now Captain America's sitting there being like, I found this happiness that I've wanted this whole time. Please, I want you to wield that and have that. And just like in the comics, you saw that he'd obviously aged and progressed. And the reason that Steve Rogers is even powerful in the first place is because of all the experimentation that was done on him. But when he decided not to come back to the current time and just age and be happy, when he decided to stick around and just live his life out instead of being Captain America, he actually ages a lot faster because it degenerates his body, because he was losing that experimentational value to his body because he didn't carry on in the timeline that he was supposed to. So for Sam to then receive it from him, that's why he took over, because he was like, he saw that there wasn't a way for Captain America to be Captain America anymore. He wasn't dead, he was alive and kicking, but he had accepted his new path. So it was seen as a sweet moment. It was seen as like, you know, a younger brother moment. Whereas Bucky only took it over because Captain America was presumed dead.
I feel like Falcon doesn't get his props, which is why I don't really find him that interesting, but I think it's good. I feel like this is going to give him, you know, some cred, some street cred.
Completely, and I think that's why, again, I'm happy to see that Bucky wasn't the one that had it given to him, because that also wouldn't have been correct to the comic books, either for the storyline purposes of how Bucky ended up becoming Captain America, because it was only temporary, whereas we're talking about Phase 4 here, and a continuation of a character without having a Steve Rogers portraying it. We're seeing it as no more Chris Evans, see you bye. We're getting another black superhero as well, which is great. I mean, we have Falcon already.
Where's my yellow panda?
There is, apparently. No, you're going to be excited about this.
I know this. I already put that. What's his name? The guy.
The martial arts guy?
Yeah, the martial arts guy. What's his superpower? Martial arts. Fuck off.
Right, tell me something else that you want to know.
So, you're one of those people who got super excited about Scarlet Witch.
Yes, I did.
Taking on Thanos?
Yes.
Why are people going nuts about that
Because
shit?
she's a boss-ass freaking bitch.
Boss ass freaking bitch.
Yes, honestly, like, of all the Avengers that they gave us within the cinematic universe, she wasn't even portrayed half to the amount that she was capable of. Yeah, sure, we see her doing her weird fingery twisty things, and she puts some red sparky stuff, and she can make things fly around and all that, but she is so much more than that.
She killed Vision.
No, she didn't.
Oh, cut.
Vision chooses to die. She doesn't murder him.
Yeah, but she's...
And Thanos brings him back anyway and kills him himself, so forget that. But in the comics, they actually do love each other. So this is something...
I thought they didn't. I thought they just...
No, so the love that they have for each other in the comic books is different to how it's portrayed in the MCU. So in the comic books, they actually end up having children, twins, in fact, who have the same powers as her and her brother. Like, a prime example in the comic book of how powerful Scarlet is. You know how everyone talks about how like Thanos stands there with like his gauntlet and he's like snapping the finger, half the universe is gone. He needed the stones to do that, right? Without the stones, he could have clicked his fingers through his heart content and nothing would have happened. He would just look like he was listening to really bad music with his headphones on. But Scarlet Witch is a very prime example because she's technically an X-Men. She joined the Avengers, but she's a mutant first and foremost. She, in one comic book, literally says the words like, all mutants die or something along those lines. Don't quote me on that. One line with like 3 words, and mutants die. Just go to the floor. She speaks the words. She doesn't need anything, it's just her mutant powers give her that ability. Can you imagine if she just went up to Thanos and went, fucking die? He'd be on the floor fucking having a panic attack, rip his heart out and all that stuff. Yeah, all done. She has that ability and they don't use that in this because they need to make it some epic saga that lasted for a decade.
Yeah, it's weird because I find some of the more powerful characters in comic books and stuff are never the main ones.
No.
I mean, Superman maybe, but we're talking about later. But like...
Yeah, wrong universe.
Right.
No, but it's true, like she has so much of an OP list of like abilities and superpowers that if you had put those all and portrayed them all in the movies, you might as well just put her one-on-one with Thanos and that be that. Like sure, Thanos is strong with all of the stones and as a whole with the gauntlet, he is a damn huge nemesis for the universe as well as the Avengers themselves. But she has like crazy hex ability. She's like really, really resourceful in witchcraft and spellbinding. I do. Look, I'm a witch myself, okay? Like if I was going to be represented as a witch with powers in real life, down the straight I'd want the same abilities as Scarlet Witch.
Oh yeah, her name's Scarlet Witch. Of course she's a witch.
This is definitely a noob channel. I'm going to leave now.
What did you think about that girl power scene? Where the female characters all kind of came together. All of a sudden they just happened to be standing near each other and, you know, what do you think of that? As a female.
as a female, it really was a very powerful, incredible moment. But it was also paying homage to Infinity Wars as well. I don't know if you recall, but there was that moment where you had just a couple of the girls that were in the fight sequence all stand up and be like, no, she's not alone, kind of thing, and they started doing that. And then you had a repeat of that in Endgame, but all of them were there. And that's what made it so cool, because you sat there and went, no, it's not just this person, it's not just this person, like there's a couple of key characters. It was every plausible female that could have been in the Endgame fight sequence, and they were all there. Flying on the ground, doing acrobats, shooting weird beams, guns, you name it. Like even Pepper Potts was there. The rescuer, Pepper Potts.
Ah, yes. Gwyneth.
Gwyneth. Pepper Potts. That's Tony Stark's wife.
Do you know who plays Tony Stark's wife?
Oh, right, Gwyneth Paltrow, right. Okay, sure. I'm not trying to outsmart me. Trying to outsmart me. No, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really cool. And even if you aren't a girl, we're living in an age where we're being represented as stronger, independent people that are capable of doing things without stupid guys. And look, I have nothing against equal rights, but that was a freaking sex scene, and it's gonna hold up in like decades time when kids are like rewatching this with like their parents and being like, wow, that was really cool, mum, and these like real people that are like acting this in this movie, and it wasn't just this one thing, it was like important. They fucking kicked ass. Do you remember that fight sequence? It's amazing.
It was a good fight sequence.
It was an amazing fight sequence.
Alright, so for someone who doesn't actually read comics, she knows a hell of a lot about comics. I don't know how it happens, but what are some of the comparisons for us? Like if you compared the movie to the comic book story, how did they go as far as like an interpretation?
In an interpretation, obviously, with any movies that are based off of books or something that was written, there's going to be differences. And in some ways, yes, it did the storyline better. Sometimes it did it worse. In a end result, it didn't flaw too badly. There were obviously like outfit differences, there were a couple of dialogue differences and character differences with like how they're portrayed, but in a plot sense, yeah, they left things out, but it ended beautifully, and it ended with some key comic book moments that anybody that does a little bit of research can find out and realise that they all interlink in their own little beautiful ways. I think going into phase 4, they will try and do that even more so, because they're going to want to establish characters that are already around with new people playing them. And does that make you cringe?
Yeah, a little bit.
Are you worried?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to flaw it. I think it'll be great.
Like imagine the next guy who plays Wolverine. Oh.
I guess just the main comparison between written and on screen is you're going to see more action in one than you will in the other, but you're also going to see a story told better in one than the other. If you're combining them together, they melded fairly well in the end. There are going to be differences, that's just how it is, with screenwriters and a load of other people being involved in it. But Marvel have done very well with keeping very close units to where the characters and the storylines originally came from. So I give them a thumbs up.
So, that's the end of today's video.
What are you doing next time?
Next time, I'm doing another Avengers video where I'm going to be building something. So subscribe to my channel if you want to keep tabs on that. Thank you, Siren, for coming on and being my first ever... Well, you're not really my first ever guest, but you're my first fellow YouTuber guest. I'm going to leave a link to her channel in the description, so please check that out.
Aw, why aren't you sweet?
Yeah, I try to be. Anyway, till next time, say goodbye in Korean, please, Siren.
안녕.
안녕.
고마워요. 감사합니다. 사랑해요. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go
What are we
back.
going back to?
Go back.
Our place?
We're at your place.
So,
Start from the start.
start from the start.